Okay, welcome to the Space Limited Accomplishments interval. My name is Lance Ash, and this is the first episode of the new year for the one or two people who are regular connoisseurs of the show. And this is, I don't know. But anyway, this is Bonnie.
Hello.
Are you happy that it's a new year?
Symbolically, I guess so.
Me too. I always feel like my birthday's at the end of the year, so it sort of, in general, coincides with a new year and new beginning and all that crap. So today we're going to discuss, I don't know if we've discussed books in the past, but we're going to discuss books. So, when did you start to read serious books, Bonnie?
Maybe college?
Really? I mean, because I would read Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew, that kind of crap, but I didn't start seriously reading stuff until I was about 13 or 14, I think. Although when I was in third grade, I think it was, I read the first and last volumes of Ben Bova's Exiles trilogy, which was pretty advanced reading matter for a kid that little. So what did you read that you liked a lot when you were in college?
Well, you and I have talked about the fact that we change throughout periods of our lives, and I used to have this favorite movie, and I tried to rewatch it a couple months or a year ago, and I found out it was just not my thing at all. And so the thing with me is I go through phases, and I have genres that I prefer as opposed to authors that I necessarily prefer. As far as college is concerned, everything was just dabbling. Nothing really stuck out. It wasn't until we settled down that I actually began to have some time to seriously read. I would have series that I would read. I'd have authors that I would read. So I don't have a favorite book. I have a favorite genre, and it's the historical narrative and historical fiction, but mostly historical narrative based on honest history.
Okay. I think slow down, it's a deer. Slow down, there's a deer. Slow down, there's 3 deer. Slow down, Bonnie, right now. Nice. Dumb creature. The thing, we weren't going but maybe, 15 miles an hour?
Not even.
And he still managed to jump out in front of the damn car and flip over the hood and kept going. He probably had a good bruise, maybe some broken ribs.
I wonder what the car looks like.
Oh, when we get a chance, we'll stop and buy a lottery ticket and we'll take a look at the hood at the same time. Maybe made a little dent, but not too bad. I hope. Anyway, lost my train of thought. I think in the early days, I had a feeling that there were important books, important authors that I was supposed to read in order to be a hip connoisseur of literature. So I was like, okay, well, who are these people? Kerouac, Henry Miller, Faulkner, blah, 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 blah. And I like a lot of those people genuinely, but I do think I put my toe in the water because I felt like that was what you're supposed to do. And speaking of Kerouac, it's funny because a couple of days ago, Bonnie and I were looking at our collection of books, and she pointed out Kerouac or something, and I said, yeah, I've read everything by Kerouac, including the last couple of books which were just pooted out while he was drunk, except Visions of Cody. And I thought, okay, you know what? New year, let's make the effort to try to finally read his great big book, Visions of Cody. And I sat down to read it. I used to love Kerouac, but it's just, to be honest, a hard slog. Because I think a lot of it is forced stream of consciousness as opposed to genuine stream of consciousness. Or a genuine enthusiasm for what you're writing. And I don't think I'm going to finish it. I hate the idea of skimming through a book. If it's a novel especially, I feel like you should read it start to finish. But I just don't know if I'm going to read this thing or not.
One thing I like doing with the serious, so-called serious authors is reading some of their short stuff. I remember trying to read Ulysses and all that, and I sit down with James Joyce's short stories, and I really like those, and I think I liked them, again, because of my historical angle, because it gave me a taste of things, life in that time period. And I was genuinely amused to find out we're just the same. We have the same complaints and the same interest and the same types of way of communicating and such.
Well, you and I, or he and you?
No, I'm saying that throughout time, a span of time.
I see. Yeah.
And no matter, where you're at, if it's, 100 years ago or 500 years ago, our subject matter seems to be very much the same. Now, you have an author that you recommend. Is it a Spanish author?
Julio Cortázar, him?
Yeah. What genre is he?
Magical realism.
Yeah, I really got into the Gabriel Garcia Marquez stuff for a while there. As a matter of fact, some of my favorite individual scenes come from some of his stories. But again, for me, it's that slice of life. That idea that the universality of the human condition, and that's what appeals to me the most.
Well, you mentioned Ulysses, and it's so hard to make the determination whether something is just bullshit or if there's genuine literary merit there.
Thomas Pynchon.
Well,
you've complained about him several times.
Okay, I tried to read Gravity's Rainbow a couple of times, and I finally it was one of these things where I got 2/3 of the way through it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to finish the goddamn thing, even if I don't comprehend a word. And it was just one of the things where you're dragging your eyes over the words just to say, okay, I read it. And some of it was, slow down again. Some of it was really, really good. Some of it was just crap. And I think Ulysses is crap. I think Finnegan's Wake is crap. And I think I'm not calling into question people who find genuine literary value there, because if they do, they do. It's the same thing as, okay, just today I was showing you Karl Otto Götz. He was an art informel Tachisma painter from Germany, lived to be 103, and basically his work is just swoops of paint mushed together, and it's simple to do, but I love it. I love that sort of thing, and I can see somebody going, a chimpanzee could do this, and I agree with them. So if somebody thinks, oh, Ulysses is great and I love this and this and this, I have no problem with that.
I tell you, one of the ones that we both agreed was highly overrated and downright depressing was Trevor. The short story poet, not poet, short story.
William Trevor?
Yes.
He's a really good writer, but
his content is highly depressing.
Yeah, there's one story where this guy is married and he has two young daughters, and he has a fling with this young, good-looking woman, and so his wife leaves him, and they get a divorce, and then as soon as he gets the divorce, the woman, the young fling, leaves him, and he falls to pieces, and his wife tells him, he realizes, oh, I've made a big mistake and I've become a drunk and just filthy and living in my own filth, and the kids hate me. I'll get back together with my ex-wife. And she's like, no, I'm getting remarried and he's going to adopt the girls. And it was just depressing as shit,
And then there are those things that you introduced me to that are very optimistic. The Robertson Davies trilogies.
Those were, again, something I discovered because I saw the cover art, and then I realized it was a trilogy, and I'm like, oh, this is okay, let's give it a shot. And I thought it was fantastic. I read all three of the basic trilogy. I think that's all he did was
Cornish
3.
and-
The Cornish trilogy, the Deptford trilogy, and the Salterton trilogy. They're all really, really good.
all the lives and everything interlinks and interweaves, and you have all different levels of life, all classes and caste. It's just beautiful.
He's so unknown in this country, and so
But in Canada, he's greatly appreciated.
I don't know about Canada. I don't even know that. I mean,
In
he's
his home country, I believe he is.
I don't know, but now let's talk about crap books that we love. When I was 13, 14, I read a lot of men's adventure serials. Joseph R. Rosenberger was one of the big authors on Pinnacle Books, which
Who
was
you corresponded with.
yeah. I spoke to him on the phone one night, drunk for an hour, and but I liked those because see the cookie cutter format for most of that stuff was the hero would go on into some paramilitary adventure and he'd have a sexual encounter with somebody. That rarely happened in the Death Merchant series, but what was really interesting about them was that they would throw in this quasi mystical shit where he
Sit around the campfire.
there's one yeah
Predict who's gonna die. You can see their aura.
right yeah he would look through a glass of water through the firelight and he could see people's auras and he'd know who was going to die the next day.
Other men stuff you introduced me to were the Mickey Spillane novels, and what was that detective series where it had the same thing every single time? Woman, long lost relatives. The guy lives on a boat.
Travis McGee,
Oh.
McDonald.
John R. McDonald.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they're garbage.
Now I tried to read the Bond books, and I got to like the 4th, and I just said, no. It just.
I like them.
Part of them was the whole, you need to have this kind of wine and this kind of, thing for effect, and the women are such and such way, and it just.
I can never tell if because we continue to talk after the show's over, and I can never tell if we talked about something before on the show, or if it was just something we talked about already.
Another thing I've really gotten into since meeting you is science fiction. I love science fiction. And you got me into the whole Foundation trilogy by Asimov. And not only did I read his Foundation books, I read the Brennan Bear and the other B author books, and I read all of his short stories and his robot series books with Elijah Baley and such. I found the whole arc to be enthralling, all-encompassing. I loved the whole thing, and it made me appreciate what Brennan Bear did with relation to the Foundation trilogy follow-up books afterwards.
I'm trying to think. I liked Rendezvous with Rama quite a bit.
That was very enjoyable, and it wasn't your traditional kind of book because they go there, they explore, they leave, and it moves on. And there is no great.
Well, I think I know what you're going to say. There's no point. It's like we have to get the bomb out the door, or else the whole universe will.
Exploration for the sake of exploration.
And it's left a mystery.
Novel, and you wonder, what is this thing? What has happened?
Okay, well, let's go back to something I mentioned earlier. The Exiles trilogy by Ben Bova.
Is that the one with the gorilla?
That's the one with the talking gorilla at the beginning.
And so they leave the planet, and then they end up, the third generation is going to another planet, and they're all this hippy-dippy thing by the end of the series.
Yeah, basically, but it's.
See, that one, I really liked the first one. The second was okay. The third was like, oh.
I know, I just like. Oh, I know a good one.
What?
What's it called? The Lost and Found series by
Alan Dean Foster.
Alan Dean Foster.
Oh my God.
That is so well done and so brilliant.
Quite simply, a guy goes camping in the Northwest. He gets picked up by a UFO, taken on board, and is whisked away. And there he meets all of his fellow captives, bonds with them. They escape and have adventures. And then he has a chance to come back and.
No, don't say anything.
I'm not going to say.
Anyway, look. Going back to stuff that we read as kids, it took me. I knew that I was supposed to read Lord of the Rings, and I read The Hobbit, and I read the first book in Lord of the Rings, but it was years before I read the other two books. And I tried to read the Silmarillion, and I could not get into it. But The Hobbit was a big, big deal. What?
Our children have read the series and the follow-ups, all the extra stuff too.
Yeah. When I was, 14 or 15, somewhere in there, I read the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, the first trilogy and the first volume of the second. And it was, I look back on that period when I was reading those as being so depressing, because the books were just oh my God, just such a drag. Because it's like, it's so obviously meant to be a Lord of the Rings type adventure, but seen through the eyes of disillusioned hippies. And I was like, okay, well, maybe the second trilogy will be better. And I read the first one, I was like, no, it's the same horrible mess. But there's another book I was going to mention. Anything?
Well, I have another genre to discuss briefly. You and I have both shared reading several mystery things. We read the French detective
McGray, John Simenon. Or what's the first name?
It was Simenon's. Was it McGray?
McGray's the character.
And we read the Père Wahoo. What was it? Madge Père Martin Beck series.
Right. Yeah.
And we thoroughly enjoyed those. And of course, then there's all the crap that I read that you don't understand. Like I read a lot of police procedural and detective novels, and part of that has to do with the fact that I want something that's a quick, fast read that I can put down, and it's easy to read in waiting rooms and such. Like I read the entire Nero Wolfe series when I went through that 3-year period of having, 5 surgeries. I would just pour through those, and it was things that, like I said, easy to read, especially in waiting rooms.
Okay, I want to mention something real quick. Okay, there's another similarity between Lord of the Rings and Thomas Covenant, and that is the unrolling of the story, the adventure moves from west to east in both books, and I think, number one, that's because that's meant to facilitate the reading of the books, because in reading a book, you're moving from left to right. And for years when I read the Lord of the Rings, and you're going through the mines of Moria, you're going in your mind left to right. And I thought it was really interesting that in the movie version, when they cross the bridge, it's left to right, and that's meant to parallel that the way he knew that's the way most people have constructed it in their mind, is because in your mind they're moving across the bridge in that direction, and that's the way you read. And I think that's something that scientists should look into and then give me a prize for.
Well, think about this. Not all languages read in the same direction.
Yeah.
So, do the artists who work in other medium then recognize the same thing and have movement within the scene in the same direction as they're reading?
Well, like in a lot of Japanese, they read top down. So, should the movies and TV shows move top down?
Well, you mentioned a map, though, specifically.
I know, yeah. But it's just such a bizarre thing that those similarities between those two series. Right now, I'm reading nothing. I'm just dabbling in some German stuff because I'm trying to. As of January the 1st, I've been studying German seriously for 11 years now. And I just found out that Olaf Schubert came out with a new book a couple of months ago. I'd like to get it, but it hasn't dropped in price yet. I don't think it's even available on American Amazon, just German Amazon. Can't remember. It's amazing how much better I've gotten over the last couple of years at German. All right, we're approaching the end of the show. Anything else you want to add?
No, I'm just glad that we've introduced each other to literature through the years and that we've shared reading the same books.
Yeah, very good. All right, well, that's it. See you later.